Okay, once you have created your class name and gave the correct passing percentage in the fields, you're going to click on Add. And now you'll notice that on the side menu bar, you have your classroom name underneath your gradebook, room 300. If you have more than one classroom that you'd like to add to your gradebook, you just repeat the steps that we did before by clicking on Add a Class, filling in the fields under class name, and again, determining the percentage of passing for your classroom. Now, if you do have a classroom that has different percentage passing, that's fine. You don't have to have the same percentage passing grade for each classroom. Okay, so once you've finished creating your classrooms, now it's time to populate your classroom with your students. And if you notice that I clicked underneath Gradebook, I clicked on my classroom that I created, and you notice that this window here has 3 tabs. The first tab is the Home tab, and this is where you will come back to start your class when you're ready to utilize the response clickers. But before we do that, we need to populate our classroom with our students. And there are 2 ways that you can do that. The first way is for you to individually populate your classroom with your students on your own. And the second way is to import your students via a CSV file, which is the same thing as an Excel file, but it's just saved in a different type of format. If you are interested in having your classroom imported, you could email me and I will prepare your class list in a CSV file for you to simply import into the teacher tools. If you'd like to do it on your own individually, you would click on Add Students to your class, okay? And then it's going to ask you for some information to fill in. The first piece of information is your student ID. This is where your student ID numbers must be correct, and they must be the same ID numbers that your students use to log into the computer. So that way they don't have to remember anything else, just their ID numbers. So you would just type in the ID number here, then click in the next field, which would be their first name, and the next field is their last name. And then the last field is an email field. Notice there isn't an asterisk next to it. That means that it's not necessary for you to fill in any information in that field. When you're finished, you click return. I'm lying. You double click on the space after or beneath your first student that you imported or that you typed in. And now you continue filling in the same fields for each student in your class. Now, this might take a little bit more time than the importing, but I'm going to now show you how to import your students. So going back to the Home tab, I'm going to click on I'm sorry, you don't have to go back to your Home tab. You could just go down to the bottom where it says Next Steps and click on Import Students to your class. A pop-up window is going to appear, and it's going to ask you what room you'd like to import your students. If you have multiple classrooms, you have to choose the room that your students are in. Then click on the Next button. Then it's asking you which type of format you're going to import your student list. We're going to utilize the comma separated values format, which is a CSV format. Click on that and then click on Next. So what the computer is doing is it's asking you, okay, you want to import a CSV file, you need to give me that CSV file. So here is where you would come to this window to try and find the file that you have saved. Now, if I sent it to you as an attachment, you have to open it up and save it somewhere on in your hard drive or on your desktop. My personal preference is to save things on my desktop because it's a lot easier for me to find them. So I'm just going to go to a folder that I have saved CSV files from another school. This is Robert Waters. This is the 3rd grade class, and I'm going to pick room 214. Notice it's a CSV file.csv, and then you click on Open. Once you click on open, what happens is it automatically imports all of the students into your classroom. Click on OK, and now you'll see that all of your students are listed here under the Students tab with their ID, first and last names fields filled in. Notice there is also an average column that will be populated once your students start to take assessments, and their classroom average will appear here. Now, if you don't want students to be able to see their average or other students' averages, up here in the top right-hand corner, there is a privacy button. Right now it's off, and notice that the eye is open, meaning that there is no privacy. If I click on that eye, the eye closes, and now there's privacy. The privacy has to do with the student's average and also their ID number. When your students are logging in to the Smart Response system, they need to utilize their ID number. So what I suggest is if your students have difficulty remembering their ID number, you can turn the privacy off and their ID numbers will be shown so they can use those numbers there when you project this in front of your class. As your students start to log in using the clickers, these the status symbols here will turn a green circle to let you know that those students have signed in to the class. Okay, so this is our video on setting up our gradebook and setting up our classrooms and populating our classrooms with our students for the Smart Response clicker system so your students are able to use the clickers to take assessments. Have a great day.